What's up, Taiwan? I'm Joyce coming to you from Taipei with the latest news. While the three leading political parties battle for positions in Taiwan's government, some smaller parties are also announcing their legislative nominees. Tiffany Wong takes a look at the growing third-party movement.
Growing a democracy. That's the goal of these smaller political parties now putting candidates forward for Taiwan's legislative elections. They say they want to break the deadlock the two major parties, the ruling Democratic Progressive Party and the Kuomintang, have had on Taiwan's politics since the country became a democracy nearly 30 years ago.
把人民放在前面，把国家的利益放在前面，把两岸的和平放在前面，把政党的斗争摆下来。
台湾需要有一个更进一步的站稳台湾的立场。 又能够改革的这个新的力量。
Although a presidential campaign may be an overreach for most of these so-called third parties, they have their eyes set on winning seats in the legislature based on proportional representation. Of 113 legislative seats, 34 are reserved for distribution among political parties based on support from Taiwanese voters. Any party that receives at least 5% of the vote is guaranteed 2 members in the legislature. And while that may not seem like much, analysts say it could impact major policy decisions.
It gives small parties, usually not many, but somewhere between 2 to 5 seats in the Legislative Yuan. And those 2 to 5 seats might seem small, but it's very meaningful that they have a voice in the Legislative Yuan. And they can even sometimes make or break certain issues or certain votes.
And these small voices can turn into bigger ones as more and more voters lose attachment to the established parties. In the last legislative elections in 2020, these smaller parties evenly split the proportional vote with the DPP and the KMT. And in the upcoming presidential elections, a third-party candidate is proving a strong challenger, an inspiration for many of these smaller parties, now working to grow their support, one legislative seat at a time. Patrick Chen and Tiffany Wong for TaiwanPlus.
A Taiwanese businessman has attended his first court hearing after being charged with spying for China. Fang Xiang and his wife are accused of being recruited by Beijing to monitor Taiwan independence activists. Prosecutors say they tried to recruit supporters of former President Chen Shui-bian, gang members, and a staff member of the Mongolian and Tibetan Cultural Center to work for China. Fang denies the allegations, saying in court that he remembers nothing. 2 Taiwanese men are in custody in Vietnam on suspicion of drug trafficking. They were among 7 people arrested as part of a ketamine ring. Vietnamese police seized 1.3 tons of drugs worth $63 million. Taiwan authorities say the men will be tried in Vietnam and repatriated after serving their sentences. The government is threatening to levy additional taxes on people and businesses who occupy public pedestrian arcades. Homeowners often treat these walkways as their own property, while some shopkeepers use the space for their businesses. The Tax Bureau is now warning that this unauthorized use of public space could be taxed, especially if it blocks pedestrian access. Some shopkeepers say it's already hard enough to do business, and any additional tax will be a new burden. A proposed trash incinerator in Taiwan's Changhua County has put developers at odds with the local community. Rick Lowert reports on how the latest hopes of a compromise broke down.
A battle cry before negotiations. After months of protesting a proposed trash incinerator in their neighborhood, these residents of Taiwan's Changhua County were invited to discuss the plans with developers. But the talks, arranged by Taiwan's economy ministry, quickly broke down.
我们不对题，而且他只是在跟我们大家再讲一次金顶焚化炉为什么要开发。我们不是要讲听你这个嘛，甚至他这个会议还限制，包含民众参与，就每个单位3个人，然后讲话3分钟，然后我们还不能进去里面直播录音。这样的这是个公共议题，怎么可以这样来限缩？
Construction of the incinerator has been halted for months due to protests by locals. They say the area already has a higher density of incinerators and power plants than the rest of the country, and that the pollution is causing a health crisis.
年轻人已经有那个肺癌的征兆了，有发现了3、4位，这就会代表所有的居民、所有的产业坚决的反对金顶焚化炉在这里设立。
But developers have tried to convince residents they have nothing to worry about, saying they have been following government regulations and that with new technology, this will be the lowest emission waste processing plant in Taiwan.
我们做过健康风险评估，累积70年以后，对我们这个附近的居民的一些致癌风险的几率是相对的低。我们可以客观、科学的方法，又符合法治的规定来去处理这件事。
Dialogue on the issue has, for the moment, broken down. But protesters here are determined, describing the battle against development as a fight to the death. They are now calling on the government to do more to protect them, saying their next protest will be in the capital, Taipei. John Su and Rick Lowett for TaiwanPlus.
In international news, we're seeing the first images of hostages and prisoners returning home after being freed on day 1 of the Hamas-Israel truce. 13 Israelis, 10 Thai nationals, and 1 Filipino were among the hostages released, and 39 Palestinian women and children were freed from Israeli prisons. Israel says it's received a list of the next group of hostages to be released on the second day of the pause in fighting. Under the agreement, a total of 50 Israeli hostages and 150 Palestinian prisoners will be swapped over 4 days. Meanwhile, much-needed aid has also begun arriving in Gaza, which is suffering from a humanitarian crisis after 7 weeks of war. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has made a stark climate warning during a visit to Antarctica. He said intense action must be taken at the upcoming UN COP28 climate summit, where countries will address their commitments to lowering planet-warming emissions. It comes as Antarctica ice faces an all-time low, with the latest figures showing it was 1.5 million square kilometers smaller than average.
What happens in Antarctica does not stay in Antarctica. And what happens thousands of miles away has a direct impact right here in Antarctica. We live in an interconnected world. Fossil fuel pollution is eating our planet, unleashing climate anarchy in Antarctica.
For the first time ever, the world's biggest freediving festival is taking place in Xiaoliuqiu, an island off the southeast coast of Taiwan. Our reporter Sandy Chi heads there to check it out.
Swimsuits, masks and flippers on, ready to plunge into the ocean. These are freedivers from all around the world here in Xiaoliuqiu, a small island off the coast of the southern city of Kaohsiung. They've all gathered here for one purpose, to attend the world's biggest freediving festival, Deep Week. It's been held before in countries like the Philippines, Thailand and Mexico. This is the first time Deep Week is taking place in Taiwan, with organizers saying it's an ideal spot to hold the event.
Taiwan is probably the easiest location that we have, or one of the easiest locations that we have, and it's because the conditions are so easy.
Water temperature, the stability of the currents, like it's not choppy like Australia is, and the visibility is amazing. It's just like, it's crystal clear. Like I'm looking down and I can see someone like 20, 25 meters below me, and it's just like, you just can't see that in most other places.
When Deep Week first started a few years ago, there were only around 35 participants, but that number has grown to over 100 in recent years. This time, around 130 participants traveled to Xiaoliuqiu to meet and learn from some freediving record holders, including the world's greatest living freediver, Alexei Molchanov.
Freediving is a sport which I love to share with people. I love to talk about philosophy of freediving, and for me it's, I would say, is one of the best tools to learn how to get calmer, how to get less stressed and less tense.
Other than attending workshops and training sessions, participants get a chance to witness Molchanov in action.
So first, Alexei, seeing his exceptional athleticism, he flew through the Ninja Warrior course, which is like an obstacle course underwater, and that was amazing.
Together for 7 days, these divers spend time together in the water and on land. For first-timers, this experience opens their eyes to a whole new world.
I'm also athlete or freediver, and so I had a lot of questions about like how to do equalization and how to push myself to be more better and to push myself and break my personal best.
I've pushed so many PBs. Every day I've actually managed to improve my PB here, going from 20 meters without fins down to 30 meters free of motion yesterday.
It's not just newbies here. Some participants have been to several deep weeks.
This is my 4th deep week now. Each time, the best thing is making friends from all around the world, seeing old friends, new friends, and it keeps the community closer together.
That bond is what motivates these divers to travel around the world and freedive in different countries. Today, Taiwan is home to more than 90,000 registered freedivers and has the 2nd largest number of freediving licenses in the world. With Deep Week being held in Xiaoliuqiu, it's an inspiring opportunity for Taiwan's athletes to learn from the best and dive deeper into the freediving world. Scott Huang and Sandy Chi for TaiwanPlus.
Seniors with dementia came together for a walkathon along Taipei's famous Tseng Pier. That's as the city works to manage its rapidly aging population. Taiwan's capital has the largest portion of people aged 65 and up among the country's major cities at almost 22%. And the number of people in Taipei with dementia has also been increasing, now at over 7,500 people. With the help of NGOs, the city has been working to put on even more social events to support seniors and their caregivers. Hand-painted movie billboards were once a huge part of Taiwan's film industry. Now there's only one artist in the country keeping the tradition alive. Philip Broussard went to the southern city of Tainan to meet this living national treasure.
The deep blues of this avatar billboard are slowly covered over by what will be the bubblegum pink of the latest Barbie film. Hand-painting movie billboards is an act of creation, even as it destroys. And with every new creation, Taiwan's last movie billboard painter brings the country's once thriving industry closer to its end.
如果要像我功夫这么好，没有办法，可能没有办法，找不到第二个没有。
Yen Zhenfa is now 70 years old, and his eyesight is now failing after dedicating over half a century to his craft. Yen has been painting billboards for the Trenmei Theater in Taiwan's southern Tainan city for over 2 decades. This cinema is the last in the country keeping the tradition alive.
它比较有那笔触要有比较有生命力的，你用摄影的那个海报那个很呆板呢。
Tickets at Trenmei are cheap, and they are stamped by hand at the booth, just like in the past. The cinema is also where 3-time Oscar-winning director Ang Lee says he found his love for film. The owner of Trenmei says that in the 1960s, Taiwan had about 700 theaters providing work for billboard painters. In his prime, Yen had his hands full with orders. Now, he only gets work from Trenmei.
现在就比较少了，就是那前面那戏院前面那，差不多4套了，画一天就画好了，有差不多，如果要都2天。
The billboards are too big and too expensive to save each one. When a new film comes out, the old boards are painted over. Some of Yen's best paintings are now only memories.
画了一个人像很大，大概一个嘴巴就这么大。 很大很大心，那个画的很棒啊！那时候没有摄影机，没有办法留起来。
Taiwan's living national treasure now gives lessons on weekends to pass on his techniques, but he has no illusions about the fate of his profession.
到现在还没找到一个像我这样的，没有那么厉害的。
Yen says he now saves some of his favorite paintings, and he takes photos of other creations he likes. But as he puts the finishing touches on this Barbie billboard, it's only a matter of time until Yen hangs up his brush for good. Scott Huang and Philip Broussard for TaiwanPlus.
Thank you for watching What's Up Taiwan. I'm Joyce Tseng, and I'll see you next time.